Hi everyone, so today we're going to be doing my mom's makeup, so 50 plus. I won't disclose her exact age, but we're going to be starting with her eyebrows. She's using the Anastasia Dip Brow in the shade Dark Brown. Like a lot of us, she overplucked her brows and now they just don't grow towards the center there, and they're missing a little bit of hair on the ends, so we did have to do a little bit of work to fill those in. With the dip brow, you do need to go in with the spoolie and really brush out the pomade so that it doesn't look too blocky. But for someone like her and even myself who is missing a lot of brow hair, it does work best because the pencils you can just go through like water since you need to use so much to fill it in. The brows make a huge difference. So they are the frame of the face. They give you a ton of youth. So if you are 50 plus, spend some time on your eyebrows, fill them in where they're sparse because it's going to make a huge difference on how youthful you do look. Now I'm just using a little bit of concealer on a flat brush, a flat concealer brush, and I'm going underneath and I'm just cleaning up where I did draw them in, just so it looks really fresh and crisp. It looks like you almost just got your eyebrows done, and the concealer will also cover up any stray hairs. So let's say if you haven't done your eyebrows recently, it will still give you a really fresh look. So I'm cleaning up the top and the bottom, and you can see it just makes such a difference. Before she had basically no brows. Using a little bit of leftover concealer, I did cover any hyperpigmentation on her upper lid, and I'm using translucent powder to set that. It's important to use that powder because your eyelids when you're a little bit older can be crepey, and the eyeshadow that you apply can kind of stick, and also your eyelids can be a little oily, so definitely set it down. And I am starting with eyeshadow. I'm going in with the color Bold on the Tarte Pro palette. This is just like a nice neutral brown, a little bit of a lighter shade, and I'm using that to transition. When you're doing your eyeshadow, especially if you're a little older, you do want to use your finger, and you'll see in 1 second. See how I'm using my thumb and pushing up her eyebrow? I'm doing that so I can really get into the creases, again, because it can be a little crepey in that area. Now I'm going to be using the color Edgy, which is just a dark chocolate brown, and I'm using a flat brush and I'm packing that brown onto her lid, and I'm not taking that too high because you don't want to look like you have a black eye, but we are doing a glam look, so we're going to do like a smoky brown. So keep it low, pack it. Again, use your finger and really lift that brow. Because of that crepiness, you do need to kind of get in between the layers there. So really pack it on, lift the eye up. You're not going to hurt them, just lift it up. And then I'm using the transition brush, the same one I used for the lighter brown, and I'm going in and I'm just mixing those two colors together and blending them seamlessly. So all I did was 2 colors for this entire look, just a deep brown and then a kind of lighter transition brown. Again, going back and I'm packing on that brown because you can see it kind of fades. So I'm packing that back on, and then I'm just blending, and that's it for the eyes. Super easy, anyone can do it. I'm just taking some basic lashes and actually cutting them in half and just placing those on the outer corner of her eyes. I'm gonna go over that with some eyeliner after to cover the band. But you can buy these lashes, Ardell sells them, they're called accent lashes, so they're just gonna go on the ends. They're a lot more comfortable, and especially if you don't wanna wear a full lash, you can see it just gives a nice lift. This is the Too Faced Hangover Primer, really moisturizing. I think it's important to use a moisturizing primer before you go in, unless you have really oily skin, but most of the time when you're a little older, you're dry, so moisturize that skin good beforehand so that the foundation sits really nicely. Using the Maybelline Matte and Poreless foundation, I'm going to be applying this with the brush first. This is actually her foundation. I'm using a lot of her own products just to show her how to do it. This isn't a super matte foundation. You definitely don't want to use a super matte foundation, especially if you're a little older. It can just stick to things that you don't want, people to see. So use something dewy or just a natural finish. I would say this is more natural than matte, honestly, but it's a good one. And then the sponge, I'm just going in to pick up any extra foundation and kind of push that product into the skin because we don't want it sitting on the layer, sitting between any lines. We don't want that. We want to really push it in and get rid of any extra. Now I'm going in with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, just using that under her eyes. first working it in with a brush and then I'll be bouncing it in with the sponge. I spend a lot of time doing this because I want to make sure there's no extra product under the eyes. You don't want it to look too crepey. Using the sponge and really taking my time here to make sure that nothing is settling in the lines, and I'm really using that sponge to pick up any extra and blend it out evenly. It's gonna look bright under the eyes at first, but since we did a heavier, darker eye, it's important to balance that out. So once we finish everything, it will look normal. But I'm gonna be setting the under eyes with some translucent powder, using my finger just to warm up and make sure nothing is settling into creases before I set it. And then I'll be setting it with some powder just right there. I'm not setting her whole entire face. I'll set, near her nose, her T-zone, anywhere that you could get a little shiny just naturally. But everywhere else, I'm just gonna leave the way it is. You wanna leave the skin looking dewy and fresh. Now I'm gonna be going in with the NYX Matte Bronzer. This is her bronzer again, nice deep shade. I'm using a fluffy brush. I'm not really contouring, I'm just using a big fluffy brush. And I'm gonna be going around all of the perimeter of her face. So her cheekbones, her forehead, anywhere the sun would naturally touch. I'm gonna kind of contour under her neck. I did bring a little bit of the foundation, I didn't show, but I did bring foundation down to her neck because you wanna make sure everything is in the same generation, right? You don't want your face looking poreless and beautiful and then your neck looking awful. So definitely bring the foundation wherever you need to based on what you're wearing. And yep, just go around the face, bronze it up, the nose. And now I'm using the ColourPop. This is actually a kind of a moussey liquid highlighter. It's called, let's see, Guilty Pleasure. And I'm using my fingers and I'm just kind of bouncing it onto the high points of her cheeks. Again, using ColourPop, this is Super Shock Cheek Satin and Birthday Suit. These are a really awesome formula. They're almost like a moussey liquid, really great for more mature skin. I would say if you have more mature skin, try to stick with something that's more of a liquid, especially for blush and highlight. You don't want to be too powdery, too cakey. I think liquid products work great and they make you look really dewy and youthful. Now I'm just using that dark brown and kind of lining under her eyes. And now I'm using a shimmer color in the corner of her eyes. So we all love shimmers. If you're a little bit older, I would definitely stick with mattes on the lid. If you apply any shimmers on your lid, it's really gonna accent any kind of creepiness you have going on. So if you're going to use any shimmer, definitely use it on the inner corner of the eyes only. Using the KKW liner in 1.5 Nude. And then I'm gonna be using the KKW Lipstick in 3.5 Nude. Using a NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Angel Food Cake, which is a nice berry color. Just glossing her up. I think glosses look great, especially if you're a little bit more mature. Again, adding any kind of moisture and shine and dewiness to the face in general gives a lot of youth. This is more of a glam makeup look, but just a disclaimer, this is not an everyday. This is for weddings, special events. I think it's important, and I get a lot of questions on how to do that if you're a little bit more mature. I could also make a tutorial on a day-to-day look. So this is before, and now we'll catch her after feeling herself because she loved it. Thanks for watching, guys.